What is going on, everyone? How about we look at affordable big cities? Recently, we did what we felt were the best cities and states to move to in 2022. We really didn't focus on any stat. It was basically our opinion, sort of what we've learned over the last year of doing videos. Those videos spurred on a bunch of requests for affordable places in 2022. According to the US Postal Service, nearly 36 million addresses were changed in 2020, and 2021 is looking like it'll be a lot more than that. Historically, the main reason people move is money. It has something to do with their money, economics, whatever the situation. The cost of living is too high, they can't afford to buy a house or even rent a place, or they're not getting paid enough where they're living, so they move someplace for a better job. Today, we're ranking these big cities by their median home price, and they also have to have a below average cost of living. Keep in mind, we're using the median price, and it's different from the average. Median is just the middle. It's hard to give an average for a city because there's so many different neighborhoods, so many different income levels, but I always give a guesstimate of what I found on Zillow and different real estate websites, kind of give you an idea what you're looking at if you move there. I will tell you there's a few cities I didn't include because they have so many problems it makes it not worth the move no matter how cheap they are. I'll tell you about those at the end of the video. All right, let's take a look. Number 10, Boise, Idaho. Boise, Idaho is one of the top 10 cities to move to right now. It has been for, I'd say, the last decade. It was like number 1 or 2 or 3 back around 2016, 17, but it slipped down to like number 7. Considering there's around 200 medium or large cities in the United States, that's not a bad number. If you're looking for work, Boise is not a bad place to look. Their unemployment rate in September of 2021 was 2.2, while the national average was around 4.8%. A lot of people consider Boise to have great weather. Most of the times I've been there, it's been really hot, or I've been there during the winter and it has that bone-chilling cold. But that's just my experience. Most people think it's got really good weather and a nice climate. A lot of great outdoor things to do around here, both in the summer and the winter. And when people list why they moved to Boise, outdoor activities comes in third. But the number one reason is always cost of living. Cost of living is 12% below the national average, and the median home price is $305,000. But really, you're not going to find anything below $375,000. You probably should be prepared to pay about $450,000 to get something nice. Now, if you're coming from Mississippi or Arkansas, something like that, and you just heard those prices, you probably spit your drink out because you're used to prices wherever you're from in those states. If it's a rural community, I got bad news for you. Cities will always be more expensive, and places like Jackson, Mississippi, and Little Rock, Arkansas are perfect examples of what I talked about at the beginning. They've got more problems that overshadow a low cost of living and low housing. Number 9, Grand Rapids, Michigan. Grand Rapids have popped up a couple times since the new census information came out. They've slowly been gaining people, kind of secretly. And in this last census, they're one of the few cities in Michigan that actually gained population. The secret's out about Grand Rapids. It's a good place to live. Their population actually grew about 7% from 2010 to 2020. The cost of living in Grand Rapids is 9% lower than the national average, and the median home price is $281,000. You can find fixer-uppers here for around $200,000, so it's actually less than the median. You're gonna have to put some work in it, but if you want something nice, $300,000 to $350,000 will get you something decent and livable. Number 8, Tampa, Florida. Tampa is one of the better cities in Florida that really doesn't get as much attention as Orlando or Miami or even Jacksonville. I mean, everyone knows about the Tampa Bay area, the whole metro area, but Tampa, the city, doesn't really get as much attention as I think they probably should. It's not a bad place to live. A couple years back, I did a video called Top 10 Reasons Not to Move to Tampa, just like I did for like every major city. I had a really hard time finding 10 things that were legit. Sure, they got a little crime, they got a little poverty, just like every place in the country, but nothing really stands out as horrible. Some people know this, and that's probably why they haven't had a census where they actually lost population since 1980. In this last one, they gained almost 14%. So people know about Tampa. The cost of living in Tampa is 5% lower than the national average, and the median home price is around $266,000. This is like a normal coastal city though. The closer you get to the ocean, the higher the prices go and they get into the millions. But if you go a few miles inland, it's not too hard to find a nice home for around $220,000 to $260,000. Is it going to be the greatest house? No, it's probably small, little older, probably well maintained though. And if you're the fixer-up type, they've got plenty of homes on the north side of the city away from the ocean for under $200,000. The only thing I would say is if you got a problem with strip clubs, you might not want to move here. The only city in the nation that has more strip clubs per capita is Portland, Oregon. I always thought that was funny. But don't worry, if you move there, there's really no like city ordinance where they force you to go to the strip club once a month. Number 7. Brownsville, Texas. Brownsville's been getting a lot of attention lately with all the tech companies moving in there, including Tesla and Elon Musk's SpaceX. They're all looking at that area. This is bringing a potential for a lot of new jobs here in the future. They got jobs now, don't get me wrong, but the future looks very bright for the Brownsville area. Brownsville is located in the western Gulf Coast of South Texas. It's not too far from the water. And it's a nice place to go if you really want to get some decent real estate for a pretty good price. The cost of living in Brownsville is 15% lower than the national average, and the median home price is about $265,000. That's their median price. You could find decent livable homes right now for under $200,000 in Brownsville. Is it going to be in the greatest neighborhood? Probably not. Might there be some crime around your house? Maybe. Is it South Side Chicago, East St. Louis crime? Absolutely not. Every place has crime. There's no avoiding it. But Brownsville definitely isn't like a war zone or anything like that. Number 6. Amarillo, Texas. Yep, we're staying in Texas with Amarillo. Amarillo is up in the panhandle of Texas, and it's really a city that's often overlooked. If you decide to drive from Albuquerque to Oklahoma City, it is right there in the middle. It's like a good place to get gas and a great place to pee. But when you've filled up and relieved your bladder, you might want to look around because this is not a bad place to live. Amarillo's housing market is usually about 30% lower than the national average. Currently, it sits about 28% lower, and their groceries, it's actually 10% lower than the national average. This is a very inexpensive place to live. Not the most exciting city in the United States, but if you want to save some money and you're not looking for a crazy nightlife, Amarillo may be the place for you. The cost of living in Amarillo is 14% lower than the national average, and the median home price is only $249,000. But just from poking around Zillow and taking a look at what they had, there are plenty of homes here that are below $200,000. I mean, you can get something decent, livable, anywhere from $150,000 to $200,000, and you won't have to put a ton of work into it. Again, is it in the best neighborhood? Probably not. If you want something in a really good neighborhood, you're looking around $400,000, $450,000 in the Amarillo area. Number 5, Knoxville, Tennessee. Finally, Knoxville makes a list. Knoxville's a great place to live. They've got a lot of things going for it, and cue the people that are going to say they got poverty, and they got crime, and they got this and that. Every city has it. Let it go. Like I always say, is it Detroit bad? Is it Southside Chicago bad? No, it is not. Knoxville is not that bad of a place. Don't try and get street cred by saying your hometown of Knoxville is just overrun with gangs and violence. Get that all the time. It always seems to be coming from someplace like Knoxville, Tennessee. Now, Memphis, on the other hand, that's a total nightmare. But if you want to move to Knoxville, it's a good choice. Their cost of living is 18% lower than the national average, and a median home price is about $249,000. Poking around Zillow, I found out they have a lot of older homes that look like they've been redone or well maintained. You can get those for $180,000. If you're like a retired couple or a young couple starting out, this is a great idea. They have a whole range of houses going all the way up to, $1 million, but you could find a lot for right around the 175 to 250 area that are perfectly fine. Even the utilities in Knoxville are cheaper than everywhere else. It's like 12% cheaper than the national average. Number 4, St. Petersburg, Florida. Back to Florida we go with St. Pete's. St. Petersburg is right across Old Tampa Bay from the city of Tampa. Remember them from earlier in the list? This is another great place in Florida to live that really doesn't get as much attention as I think they should. Right down the coast from here, you have Sarasota, which is much smaller, and you hear about that a hell of a lot more. St. Petersburg, like Tampa, is great because of the weather. It's like summer here almost all year round, it seems like. You can go boating, fishing, golfing. That's all here for you just to do. It's very popular with a lot of retirees. The cost of living here is 9% lower than the national average. The median home price here is $245,000. You can find a lot of homes here for under $200,000. They're going to be older and they might or might not need some work. and they might be a little small. Again, like Knoxville, it's a really good place if you're retired, don't have a bunch of kids, things like that. But if you want something a little bit better, you're looking at 350 on up. And since it's so close to the coast, way up. Number 3, Springfield, Missouri. So Springfield, I was kind of on the fence with adding this one. They've got a little more crime than I'd like to see in a place where I'm kind of suggesting people move to. But when you look at Springfield, it's a lot like Chicago. They've just got some neighborhoods that really excel in crime, but a good portion of the city is a decent place to live. For Chicago, it's on the south side Chicago and a little on west side. For Springfield, it's some of Midtown and the northern section. But it is cheap throughout the city. It's not just in the bad neighborhoods, so that's a plus. The cost of living in Springfield is 12% lower than the national average, and the median home price is about $243,000. They're getting a little popular these days too. In the last census, they added almost 6% to their population. If you just kind of look at the houses they got going right now, anything below 150,000 is probably in an area you might not want to live in, but you could find plenty of houses for right around 200,000. 190, 220, somewhere in that area will get you something decent in an okay neighborhood. If you want to get something really nice here, you're probably only looking at $320,000. That'll be in a great neighborhood with a good front yard, good sized backyard, all that good stuff. Number 2, Fort Wayne, Indiana. Fort Wayne is one of my favorite places to suggest people move to. This is probably one of the best cities in the nation right now to raise a family. Obviously, you can find 1,000,001 small towns that are probably better, but as far as raising a family in a city, Fort Wayne, Madison, Wisconsin, these are a couple that I always suggest to people because they're great places to have a family. The cost of living in Fort Wayne is 12% lower than the national average, and the median home price is about $242,000. You can find plenty of older, well-maintained homes in Fort Wayne that are under $200,000. Now, they're going to be older, so, that brings its own challenges, but if you want something new, you're probably looking anywhere from $250 on up to $350. And that'll be new, that'll be nice, great place to have a family. All right, before we get to number 1, don't forget we have another channel called On This Day. We would love it if you went over there and subscribed and give some videos big thumbs up, leave some comments, tell your friends about it. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, Tulsa, Oklahoma. As much as I hate to admit it, Tulsa is one of the best places to move as far as big cities go. Tulsa is the second largest city in the state of Oklahoma, and it's not a bad place to live. Now don't forget, like I said in the beginning, these are places that are affordable. Affordable places normally have some problems that go along with it. Maybe a little high crime, horrible weather, something like that. Tulsa is going to be one of the cities where people are going to want to tell us about the crime right there. It's got some crime, not as much as Springfield, definitely not as much as East St. Louis, Detroit, or Southside Chicago like I keep saying. But Tulsa is very affordable, and that's why it's on the list. They actually have a cost of living that's 8% lower than the national average, and their median home price is only $225,000. Tulsa has some neighborhoods where you're going to find homes that are $500,000 on up, but they have a ton of places where you can get nice homes for $175,000, something like that. Up to $220,000, you're getting something decent. Anything below, let's say $120,000 in Tulsa, probably not going to be the best place to live. But if you're on a budget, maybe it's, something you want to explore. All right, before we end this one up, here's some of the cities that are actually cheaper that you still don't want to move to because they've just got too many problems. East St. Louis is horrible. Crime's horrible. Nobody should live there. Nobody wants to live there that does live there. You have Jackson, Mississippi, which is got crime, severe poverty, and it's the state capital. It's not worth moving to. Of course, there's Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Avoid that at all costs. And then there's Little Rock, Arkansas. Little Rock, Arkansas is a joke. Stay out of there. That's why those ones aren't on the list. All right, everyone. Have a great day. Be nice to each other.